6 million years ago, at the dawn of the starfaring era, Abigail Gentian fractured herself into 1,000 male and female clones, which she called Shatterlings. She sent them out into the galaxy to observe and document the rise and fall of countless human empires. Since then, every 200,000 years, they gather to exchange news and memories of their travels. Only there is no gathering. Someone is eliminating the Gentian line, and now two star-crossed Shatterlings must determine exactly who or what their enemy is, before they are wiped out of existence. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himvar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Alistair Reynolds' House of Suns. Hey everyone, this is my first Alistair Reynolds novel, and I will just say that I loved this, so just wanted to make that clear right out of the gate. This was also the buddy read for my channel in April, and it was not recommended to me by Jonathan from Words in Time, but he did, he hyped it up for me, so to speak. So thanks, Jonathan. So this is big idea sci-fi with things like black holes beneath structures to make gravity. That is common, and there's star dams and space elevators and orbital rings and millions of ring worlds in existence and Dyson swarms, or Dyson clouds, whatever you want to call it, which are like false Dyson spheres by using several ring worlds to cover a star. If you don't know what this stuff is, I'd recommend go watching Isaac Arthur on YouTube. Anyways, and there are more than 10 versions of humanity changed by evolutional circumstances, and there are autonomous robots and, well, way more. Of course, there are the sons of human history not really comprehensible to us who only have a few thousand years of history. But quadrillions have lived and do live, rather, and millions of societies have existed. But a lot of these have, of course, died, as this is 6 million years in the future, which is really incomprehensible. I've only ever read Dying Earth books that far in the future, so to speak. So beyond the conflict of the Gentian line disappearing, the other problem that is somewhat in the background for most of the story is that the Andromeda Galaxy has disappeared, as they call it, the absence. The problem of the Gentian line disappearing actually doesn't really come about until about a fifth of the way through the book, but it is the key plot of this book. It just kind of has a somewhat slower opening, but it really settles you into this somewhat weird world, as it's kind of hard to understand because it's, like I said, it's so far in the future. Now there are two main characters, and they are Campion, who is a male Shatterling of Abigail Gentian, and Purslane, who is a female one, and they are kind of lovers, which is interesting because it's kind of taboo not to be, and which makes sense because they're essentially the same person in a way, so it's a little weird. But anyways, so we do actually get chapters from both Purslane and Campion. They're not always together throughout the whole book, but for a good chunk of the book they are together. We also get points of view from Abigail with each part. I didn't keep track of how many parts there were. There's like 7 or 8 or maybe a little bit more or something. But at the beginning of each part there's a point of view from Abigail, which her parts are set about 1,000 years in the future, so not super far future, and then 6 million years after that, so very far future. Now this is interesting as we get Abigail's, like, her childhood essentially up to the point where she creates these Shatterlings. Well, she lives on this gigantic house on like a small planetoid in a place called the Golden Hour, which I won't really explain here. But it's pretty interesting, the concept explored here, because there's really so many. I kind of don't want to talk about it. I just want to say go read this book because it's pretty cool. It's not insanely long, it's not short, but it's honestly pretty cool. Now these Shatterlings, there's 1,000 of them, or actually by the time the book takes place there's 880. They lost 120 over the 6 million years. They do get rid of their memories, so they don't really remember a lot of this. Well, most of the past they don't remember. They might have some feelings connected to a lot of this stuff, but they don't specifically or explicitly remember it, which is interesting because that means they can get rid of the memories they don't really want, actually, which comes into play actually several times. It's interesting though, that also comes into effect where there's something I had a question of that is not answered by the end of the book, and I don't know, it's probably good that it wasn't answered, but it's a very, very decent ending to the series. It's very sweet, actually. The other main character, I guess that you could call, is a robot named Hesperus, who is oddly, kind of like how you expect an android character to be, but at the same time, a very different dynamic going on there with his relationship with Campion and Purslane. And his character arc is definitely the most dynamic of all the characters as well. And while honestly I've just kind of been rambling here more than most of my reviews even, I will say that the world building is top notch, and I was really impressed. It makes me want to read some more Reynolds, but it makes me want to read more Big Idea by Reynolds, because I love big idea sci-fi, and I don't read a lot of stuff that has, say, megastructures, and this made the megastructures seem normal, and typical. The other book I can think of would be like Ringworld, but that's like a big dumb object sci-fi, like the Ringworld is like the whole point, right? It's the plot, it's the setting. And here the world building is great, but it's basically given as matter of fact sort of way, which is really interesting, especially when contrasted with the not so far future parts with Abigail to the really far future parts. Besides that, the story itself is actually really engaging, not just because of the complications of their relationship, but the murders and just like the idea behind the problem, which you have to read to figure out essentially. And then the characters themselves are just more impressive than I was expecting. When I read a lot of sci-fi, a lot of times I don't expect great characters. I do more so from more modern sci-fi, I suppose. But I wasn't expecting these great big ideas, this awesome world building, this great story, and then great characters to boot. So honestly, just a fantastic book, and I think you should go give it a read. Honestly, I was really impressed by it, and I definitely will be reading more Reynolds, that is for sure. But again, it's standalone, it's not too long, and yeah, anyways, just go read it. My name is Liam with Liam's Lyceum. If you want to talk about House of Suns or any other book, I do have a Discord, I will link that below if you want to just talk about books and other things. But thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time.